Okay, so what I wanted to do today was kind of talk about quite a big, I would say, story kind of line that was introduced in RE7, and how it's kind of gone nowhere. Like, it kind of just fell off very quickly, and I think it's weird that they've done that. It's definitely a big deal in terms of like the whole overarching storyline of these games. So having this story specifically fall to the backside is very weird. I am, of course, talking about the Blue Umbrella, the new Umbrella, whatever anyone wants to call it, and how it was introduced in 7, kind of expanded upon within DLC for 7, more specifically the Not Hero DLC, which is the footage in the background, and then kind of like left. Like, it wasn't really mentioned in Village at all. They kind of moved more towards the BSAA. There are nods to the Blue Umbrella in Village, but there are no direct references to it. I find that very strange, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But what information we do have is very much present in the Not Hero DLC, and it's quite short, so what we do have isn't a lot. But I do kind of want to go over what we know, and give my own thoughts on the whole situation. Straight out the gate with Not Hero, you've got kind of Umbrella logos everywhere. This new Blue Umbrella, they're supposed to be like the good guys now, and how they're supposed to be kind of making up for what the old Umbrella did. And there's a lot of documents, well, not a lot, there's a few documents in Not Hero, as well as some dialogue that does kind of go into that stuff more. So I'll kind of let all that play out now and let the files come up on the screen so you can read them, and then we'll come back in with some commentary.
Bring him in. We can't let this happen again.
Are you sure you just don't want to recruit him?
Chris, we've been over this.
Maybe the BSAA is convinced. If they weren't, I wouldn't be here. But working with Umbrella is going to take some getting used to on my part.
I know it must be difficult, and to tell the truth, a lot of our members have been with us since even before we reincorporated as a PMC. About all that's left now is the name. Let's just focus on the mission, and maybe we can continue this conversation when you get back, okay?
Sure, whatever.
So yeah, a lot of kind of brief information there, but pretty much it covers the fact that, the old Umbrella is kind of gone, and this new one, they kind of want to make up for the mistakes the old company made, keep the name so they can kind of take responsibility, and then they did kind of convert into a PMC, which is a private military company. And if you read up what a private military company is, it kind of is a group of people that work for or with military organizations to help in some way. Of course, with Not Hero, they are sent in to deal with the aftermath of the Baker incident, and to help them, the BSA sent Chris, because he is kind of like an expert on bioterrorism and stuff like that, so he's kind of familiar with what's going on. And it's interesting, because clearly, in this DLC at least, Chris isn't comfortable with working with them, but at the same time, he says, if the BSA went on board, he wouldn't be here. But interestingly, the next game, he's also rogue from the BSAA, and they're up to some shady shit. So it really has kind of either Umbrella in some way are still evil in some way or another, or it really has like kind of done the whole switcheroo, and the BSAA are the ones the problem, and the Umbrella are the good guys, which is weird to think about, because as we all know, they've been such main villains for the whole series, pretty much, up until like 6, more specifically. And there is still like overarching elements to Umbrella, like with Village and how that all tied in together, which I think was done quite nicely. But to have them be the good guys in some fashion is very interesting. What's also interesting is near the end of this DLC, I don't actually have the footage because it did cut out like about 15 minutes in, but Umbrella are trying to stop Lucas from sending data about Evie and the Miyamasi and all that stuff to the connections. And what's interesting about that is, if you read it, like, I think some of the files are online, well, not online, but like, I think some of the backstory about the connections does kind of suggest that ex-Umbrella heads are kind of in charge there in some way. So it may be, this new Umbrella is not entirely rebuilt. Like she says, there are still people in Umbrella that were there before they became a PMC, which is interesting because, you know, maybe some of the higher ups are still there, and maybe there is still some shady shit going on. But I believe one of the higher ups in the Connections, which is the black market bioweapons dealer group, was from Umbrella. So maybe they are trying to kind of make amends. And it is interesting because it was such a good story beat, and nothing has come from it since. There is a slight nod in Village, like I said, to this new Umbrella. Especially, it's very, very, very small, but it's in the Chris section. And when you're going through the village, fighting all the Lycans, obviously the BSA are arriving at the same time, he's not too happy about it. But the small thing is, I always thought this was an old asset, but after playing this DLC again, it isn't. But the med injectors you use in the Chris section of Village are actually Umbrella Corporation med injectors. They have the blue Umbrella logo all over them. So if Chris is rogue from BSA, maybe, you know, he's speaking to or working with Umbrella, this new Umbrella, to deal with them, because he knows they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. And obviously with this new Umbrella, you know, the whole idea of them reforming is to prevent bioterrorism, to stop it from happening. So it would make more sense if actually they were the good guys, but it has not been elaborated on any further than what we do know so far. I think overall, I do want to see this storyline come back. I think I want to see this more than what I do with the Connections. The Connections are quite new, but in some way it seems they're trying to tie that group into the new storyline. I think, out of the top of my head, that the Connections are going to be working with the BSA, and they're going to be doing stuff, obviously, that's not exactly ethical with the BSA, as in using bioweapons to fight against other bioweapons, which is already just ridiculous. And I do think Umbrella will be the ones to step in and stop it. And it'll be interesting to see how that story develops. Obviously, it could have changed. A lot of things that happened in Not Hero haven't really been mentioned again. On top of that, Chris as a whole, his attitude is just completely different now compared to 7. And we'll have to see what happens. Nevertheless, though, I am really looking forward to them developing these stories more. I think mainly the Umbrella, the BSA storyline, and the Connection storylines should be the focus for the next game. I really, really hope they don't just do something new with 9, and it just keeps that story going, because it's so interesting and it's so important to the overarching story. But let me know what you guys think. Do you want to see Blue Umbrella come back in some way? What do you think's going on with them? Any thoughts on the Connections, the BSA? Leave those in the comments as well. And as always, thank you all for watching. Remember to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe for more Resident Evil content. I'll try and post as frequently as possible. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.